Welcome back. We're doing a review on the Solido Alfa-Romeo Giulia GTM, as well as the hot list on a special combo edition of the Den. Change of pace. This time we're going to start with the hot list. The hot list are models that are soon to be released or have recently been released and they're going to sell out quickly. Starting with the highly anticipated LCD models Pagani Zonda HP is here. There are three initial exterior colors. They include white, purple carbon, and blue carbon. You should see these in your market by the end of November, and I'm sure there will be additional colors to follow. Mini Champs has a surprise hit on their hands with the BMW M8 as they are disappearing quickly. Just check eBay. The newest colors are metallic red and black metallic. The Alfa-Romeo Giulia GTA and GTA M are available by Virago. This model is somewhat a step up above the cars by Solido. As Virago, you have access to both the trunk and the hood. Colors include green metallic, white, the GTA M in racing in Alfa-Romeo red and white, and finally the GTA in red metallic. Last but not least, we have the almost real Jaguar CX-75 in satin black. There will also be a Fire Sand red metallic. All of the aforementioned model information can be found on each of the manufacturer's respective websites. It's a great time to be in sports cars. BBR Models just started taking orders for the 499p hypercar by Ferrari that will be campaigning in the World Endurance Championship in 2023. They're also taking orders for the 296 GT3 car that will be running in several different series throughout Europe and the United States. If you're familiar with BBR, then you know you can expect the prices of those cars to be at a premium. Which brings me to LookSmart. LookSmart is another Italian-based model company that just mentioned that they're also going to make both the 499p as well as the 296. And LookSmart models prices are typically slightly less than BBRs. But even at that price point, it's still unattainable for some of us on a budget. Which brings me to Virago. Virago has the Ferrari license, so they could possibly make both of these models, which would be a wonderful thing. Only time will tell if they do. If Virago makes it, then the price on those models will be more than attainable based off of those two other offerings. Now let's get to our review.
And here we are. And my very first impressions are just how magnificent the paint is on this model. The speckle is the right size. Sometimes with these die-cast models, when they get the speckle paint, they sometimes have the speckles too large, and so it doesn't look very accurate on the car, or it actually reflects or shines a little bit too much. But on this one, they have it just right. There's no complaints there. The shape is okay. I believe it's off a little bit. Nothing that's too noticeable, unless of course you were, actually putting this next to or comparing this to the actual car. And what I mean by that is I believe the windshield portion is here, where these A-pillars are set back a little bit too far to the real car. But it's hardly noticeable. It's just something that I noticed. This is an opening model, but it's only openings available, I should say, are the front doors. Which brings me to something else, these shut lines. You have three different size shut lines on this model. You have this larger gap here, where in the front here. You have this second one here, which is the actual opening. And then you have the back, which is sealed because this back door does not open. So there is a difference between the three, and it is easily noticeable. To be honest, that was the first thing I noticed after being wowed by the paint. That was the first thing that I noticed about this model, was that panel gap. So I do think that's a little bit large for that, and the inconsistencies between, you know, the three openings. It is, again, as you can see, it's pretty noticeable. So let's go to the front of this model. The headlight detail is acceptable. It's not the very best, but it's definitely presentable. The grills throughout this model, because it's obviously a budget model, is not a perforated grill, but they do their best to mimic what they can of a front grill with just molded in impressions. The symbol up front is pretty nice. It's acceptable for a model of this level. So you have your tow hook here. That's more or less their version of the tow hook. It's slightly different on the real thing. The carbon fiber work throughout is acceptable, again, for a model at this level. The one thing that I really wished is that there would be some kind of gloss to this carbon fiber. There isn't any. And I say that because the pattern itself looks really good. It looks pretty accurate. Let's move to the other side here, the rear. I really like the tail lights. I think those look very good. They're very presentable. I like there's some depth to it. You can see that it's an impression of a bulb in the background right there, which is really nice. The script printing is pretty darn good. Again, you have that emblem in the back. Again, I think that's pretty acceptable for, again, a model at this level. The exhaust tips are pretty deep, which is really great, so you don't see the plastic in. I've yet to figure out what to call that, but you get what I'm saying. It looks hollow, so in other words, it doesn't just look like a circle in a block, basically. So I really like that. This is carbon fiber work in the back. The only complaint that I would have about the carbon fiber in the back of it is that this actually has some kind of gloss to it, whereas again, if you turn it towards the front, it has gloss here. Down here it's flat. So I'm not sure why it was done that way, but it is. Just finishing the rear of this, something that I'll point out in some other views is the stripes are really well done. They are down the middle of the model, so that's really great. There's no issues with that at all. It's going to the side of the model. You see there's an additional fender cover over this wheel because the wheels are widened for performance reasons, and so the over fender itself is carbon fiber, and the way that they mimic the carbon fiber, it's just all black with the little lines to make it look as if it's carbon fiber. So it's just a molded piece. You have the same thing down here with this trim. All of the lettering on this model is very, very clear. That includes the Alfa-Romeo script there. It's really nice. Same thing with the number that's on the door. It's very clean. It doesn't appear to be just a simple decal, which is really nice. I don't see a outline beyond this. I just see the number, which is really good. Something I just noticed in the front, you have these vents here and the one here as well. As you can see, it's apparent, and I'm glad they included it, and it does have some depth to it. But as you can see, it's a little rough there, so it's not even across, and you can see that there as well. But again, acceptable for a model. You can see it there as well for a model at this price point. This vent here, this is also a solid piece, but I really do like the way that this piece was done, only because, again, it's not a true perforated grille, but the pattern that they put on here looks really good. I like the way that they did that. Same thing for the one that's on the hood as well. As I mentioned, this is a partially opened model, opening model. Just looking for my tool here. And it's only the doors that open up. Yeah. So just moving on to the door cards. I do like the trim that was used on this, the way that it's painted on. It looks very believable. Let's have a look closer so you can get a look at that. I really like the pattern that's on there. It's really nice. The vents are really well done. The air vents there. You have your Italian stripes there. All this is basically painted or printed on here. But again, it looks pretty darn acceptable. I like that they included all this detail and the colors. I mean, if you think about some of the budget models of the past, they wouldn't have all this detail and color. This here is a LED screen, and that is the sat nav that you see on the screen. And I really like the colors that they chose for that, because it almost looks as if it's glowing, like it's actually on, which is really nice. It's a white sticker, but really nice choice in colors. You have your shift knob there. Again, they have the pattern on there. So I'm very impressed with the patterns that are on the trim, that they included that, because again, typically a model from this company wouldn't have that amount of detail. Then you have your seat belts, and these are plastic pieces, which would be expected for a model at this price point. It's not surprising there, but look very good. There is a roll cage back here, as you can see, and they painted it exactly with the same green paint. It has that speckle, so that is really nice. It's a very nice touch. I like that a lot. See, there's a fire hydrant. Fire hydrant. There's a fire extinguisher back there, just like it should be for this particular model. Right, roll cage again. The seat belt's wrapped around it. It's moving on to the other side. Steering wheel's very well detailed. You have all 3 pedals, which is really awesome. So you have your clutch there. The only miss or thing that I wish that Solido would not do, and I know it's a budget model, is that there is no flocking or carpeting at all, as you can see. So it's just a flat black placement of the floor. Again, I can't get enough of how well pointed the seats are with all the detail. The symbol right there on the seat belt. I just would never expected this from a model at this price point. As I mentioned before, the striping is very nicely, evenly done. You have this molded spoiler, so you can see a little of the carbon fiber pattern in there. It's not the best, but... And then there's the bottom portion. The same material is used through all 3 of these components that are trim pieces. Then when you move to the front, so I was mentioning, and there's that vent I was referring to in the front. I really do like the way that was done, because it looks like a perforated grille, but it's not. So in the front there, you do have the front splitter. Now look at that. You see how nicely that piece is done? It has that pattern on there. Why couldn't they have done that for the rest of this? See that? Here's one. It's one trim piece there. You have this molded plastic. And this one, you have this very nice pattern. Not understanding that one. Look at that speckle on that paint. Look at the wheels. These wheels are very nicely detailed, as you can see. You have your ceramic disc in the back. We have this very nicely done caliper with scripting Alfa-Romeo on it. Not that I would expect it at this price point, but there's no valve stem. The overall construction of this wheel is very nicely done. Let's take a look at the rear. It's pretty much the same. And now to my conclusions.
The Alfa-Romeo Giulia GT8M by Solido Models is a fantastic model at this price point. Some of the things that stick out are the paint is really good. I mean, in the light, that speckle is just fantastic. The wheel detail punches above the weight of this model when it comes to, again, this price point. It's very well detailed. Those brake calipers have the script on it. They're very clear. Fantastic job. Some of the shortcomings, even though the door is open, that actually made it so that the shut lines are inconsistent across the board. And what I mean by that is if you look at the front shut lines versus the rear, you can definitely see that there's some gaps there that are somewhat larger in the front than they are in the rear doors. So that is definitely a shortcoming. This is not a full opening model, just the doors in the front do open. The other shortcomings I would say is, again, these are things that you would expect of the model at this price point. The grills are not mesh, true mesh grills, so you do have that. As well as the interior is very good, but it is missing the carpeting that you would expect in a model like this. But again, this is a budget model, so no surprise there. Value appreciation, if that is your thing, I'm going to give this a 1 because it is going to take some time for these to actually have some traction when it comes to values. But this is a highly sought car. It seems like anyone who makes this particular car, any of the Giulias, especially these special ones, they tend to go very fast. So that is something to take in consideration. Please like and subscribe. That is the best way I'm going to know that you're enjoying this video as well as my other videos. This is also a way to help defeat that algorithm. So I appreciate it. See you next time.